This week's 48 Hours looks into the unsolved murder of a Texas school teacher. In 1995, Mary Catherine Edwards was found dead in her bathroom. The investigation was cold for 26 years, but recent advances in forensic science helped police identify her killer and discover her surprising connection to her. 48 Hours contributor Natalie Morales gives us an early look at her report.
Tracking the killer of Catherine Edwards meant revisiting the 1995 crime scene.
911, what's your emergency?
Her parents called 911.
My daughter's been murdered. She's been murdered!
For Texas Ranger Brandon Bess, almost everything about the case was different.
It was an unusual crime scene. She's over the bathtub, and she's obviously been assaulted and handcuffed behind her back.
Were they police-grade
Yeah.
handcuffs?
There was always the worry that it was a police officer.
The DNA left at the scene did not match anyone they tested, and the case went cold. There was no sign of forced entry at the time, right?
Right. Did we believe it was someone she knew? Yeah.
More than 25 years later, using the carefully preserved DNA from the crime scene and genetic genealogy, Bess, husband and wife detective team Aaron and Tina Llewellyn, and genealogist Cheryl LaPointe worked around the clock.
Staying up till midnight.
Every night. It just was not going to happen without the DNA.
After almost 3 months of ups and downs and nearly nonstop work, Shara hit pay dirt.
Honestly, he was never on the radar.
Brandon Bess. How you doing, sir? Good, sir.
The suspect was not a police officer, but he was someone Catherine knew.
Hair on the back of my neck stood up. I'm like, this is our guy.
Turns out Catherine was a bridesmaid at his wedding. An absolute shock to everyone, including the woman he married, his ex-wife, Diana Coe.
I almost fell to the ground. I was just like, oh my God, oh God, I can't believe he's done this.
Natalie Morales joins us now. Good morning. So let's jump right into it. How were investigators able to connect the murderer's DNA to the crime scene?
Well, Nate, it was from building out that family tree. They had the suspect's name, and it turns out he had a criminal record. They were able to track him down in Ohio. They had local police in Ohio do what they call a trash run, where they took his trash, and from the trash, they were able to collect a piece of an item that they were able to gather his DNA. They matched that DNA to the DNA at the crime scene, and that's when they knew they definitively had their man.
Without giving everything away, what else can you tell us about the murderer?
Well, as you heard, from what people knew about him, they thought he was the nice guy back in high school that everybody knew and loved. Well, it turns out he had a criminal past, but you saw that he did have a connection. He, in fact, was, his wife was friends with Catherine and Allison, her identical twin sister, and Catherine and Allison had been bridesmaids at his wedding. So investigators at that point realized there was a connection between them.
Yeah, how did the Edwards family respond to finding out about him 26 years later?
Well, sadly, the Edwards family, her parents had passed away since then, but her sister, Allison, gave emotional testimony at trial. She is now 61 years old, and as I said, she's an identical twin, so seeing her was somewhat haunting, imagining what could have been, what Catherine Edwards would be like now.
You hear these stories about the murderer being closer than you think, and this is an example of that. Natalie Morales, can't wait to watch this. We appreciate you. And you can watch Natalie's, of course, you can watch Natalie's report, Tracking the Killer of Mary Catherine Edwards, on 48 Hours tomorrow night at 10, 9 Central, here on CBS, and streaming, of course, on Paramount+.